Hey guys, welcome to another analysis video on my YouTube channel. On the agenda today, we have an interesting game between top Grandmaster Alexandre Fier from Brazil, a very entertaining player, a very aggressive and attacking player. He's playing with the white pieces against Gabriel Bento Ordozgoite from Brazil, an 1800 player, club player, quite young as well. We don't have a photo for the black player. And in this game, we're going to see how Alexandre uses the Alpine variation of the Sicilian to score a very strong and powerful performance win. And I'm sure you're going to take a few things away from this game. So stay with me and let's get into the action. Alexandre plays e4, which is his main opening move. And Gabriel plays c5 and Alexandre plays c3. Now the c3 Sicilian is considered to be a decent and very solid option. We're sidestepping lots of theory using this move. And of course, the idea is to play d4 and hopefully construct a two-pawn center, which obviously is very strong to start off the game. So black has several ways of facing the Alpine, but one of the strongest ways and the most popular is Gabriel's reply d5, hitting the pawn on e4 and therefore not allowing white to construct the center. He takes d5, queen takes d5, and now d4. Now one thing to note in this line is that if black exchanges pawns too early, white will recapture with the pawn and create an isolated pawn on d4, but with fast development with knight c3, hitting the queen and gaining some tempo to move ahead in development. So black normally in this position plays knight to c6, putting pressure on the pawn, but not capturing yet. Of course, if white develops the knight by d2 or a3, then we can capture the pawn and the white knight can't come to c3, so that would be very good for black. Fier plays knight to f3, developing and defending, and here there's an interesting pathways. Some players, me included, go for e6, the solid move. We do leave our bishop shut in for the moment, but we control the center and also allow the bishop to protect the c5 pawn. This is the most solid and safest option. But many other players, Gabriel included, go for bishop to g4, pinning the knight to the queen and therefore putting more pressure on the d4 pawn. This is all a good move, but you have to be careful with this move. Bishop to e2, and now the correct move is c takes d4. This is the correct move and moment to capture the pawn. C takes d4, and notice that now we can't play bishop takes knight and queen takes pawn, which looks like we're winning a pawn, because white has a tactical trick which most of you already know. Bishop takes c6, check, and then we knock off the queen and win the game. However, after c takes d4, c takes d4, the correct move is e6. Castle, knight to f6, and knight to c3. And here black has several squares where he can move the queen to. a5 is possible, d6, d7, both are possible. I think I recall that even queen to h5 was possible, although not probably the best. The best moves are queen to d6 and queen to d7, and it's a game. White has an isolated queen's pawn, but good attacking chances and a lead in development, which is something that Fier always prefers. But black does have a theoretically solid position. Gabriel played the inaccurate pawn to e6 without exchanging pawns. And although this may seem not to be a problem, it is. because Fier played now h3, hitting the bishop, and now the strong and aggressive c4, hitting the queen. Now this actually is theory, and it's considered to be quite good for white, because now black has to drop back, and white plays a fantastic move now, g4. Most of you out there will be wondering, why would we play g4 if we want to castle on the king side? Don't we need to keep our pawns at the back, protecting our king? And you're right, but I'm a fan of an English or American, I must say, a comic called It's Bobby Finn. You can check him out on Instagram. And he sometimes says, okay, I think we're going too fast here. Let's take a step back. So I'm going to take a step back and try and understand a bit better this position for you guys out there. Of course, by playing c4, we have significantly weakened the pawn on d4. And now black is hitting this pawn with 3 pieces plus the swap here. So if we go c4, we have to push pawn to d5. There's no way around it. We need to push pawn to d5 and play for a strong position. Therefore, by playing g4 first, we push the bishop back, we go for d5, and now the position explodes open and the lead of development of white will be noticed. More importantly, by hitting the knight has to move, and we can get in knight to e5 with a double attack on these 2 pieces here. So this is part of the theory, and it's considered to be good for white. For example, in the game, Gabriel captured the pawn with e takes d5. But for example, if he had gone, let's say, knight to b4, threatening knight to c2 check, then we go knight to e5, hitting the queen, queen to c7, we knock off the bishop, therefore preventing knight to c2, and now we push the knight back. Now the knight has no squares, it has to go to a6. And now look at this, check, we exchange queens, we exchange pawns, and then bishop to f3. And you can already see here that the pawn on b7 is very weak. The knight is coming to c3, the bishop is coming to f4, white is going to castle, and black is going to lose with a direct attack on the center of the king. Computer is suggesting +3 already for white here. This variation already gives us an idea of the dangers for black in this position. Gabriel played e takes d5. And now, according to theory, you have to accept a worse position. And you can decide which type of worse position you prefer. Gabriel's solution, capturing the knight on b1, is not the best idea. Alternatively, knight to d4 would sacrifice a pawn, but at least we might be able to get some counterplay against the white king. Knight to e7 is an option, but here we go knight to e5. We sacrifice the d5 pawn, but we get in the check on b5. And black needs to lose his castling rights, and again, all white's pieces are going to be attacking the king. And finally, knight to b4 is basically similar to the variation I showed you before. So it's a case of deciding which of the worst positions do you prefer to play. Gabriel played bishop takes b1, rook takes b1, and knight to b4, trying to pick up the pawn on d5. But now a very powerful attack by Fier. Knight to e5, hitting the queen. Bishop to b5, preventing black to castle. And now just a simple move, castle, to bring the rook to e1. This is funny because generally when you're attacking the king, you don't want to swap the queens. But in this position, we have the black king is so badly placed that it's working for us. We're actually threatening to bring the rook to the 7th. And for example, if rook to d8, we could just swap rooks and pick up the rook on h8. All this with tactics. Simple tactics. For example, if black decides to just continue his capturing spree, then we bring out the bishop with check, we enter the 7th with check, and we finish off with a very nice combination, killing the king, surrounded by this lovely formation of pieces. Fantastic play. Gabriel played a6, pushing the bishop back, but that's okay with us. We just target the pawn on f7 now. b5, and now here comes the finish. Check, check, and checkmate. So as you can see, a very powerful performance by Alexandre Fier, who actually played in my team in Barcelona some years back, and I have a very good relationship with him. Very strong player. If you really want to see some fantastic games, check out Fier's games. He has some outstanding performances. Very, very strong player, very dangerous, very aware tactically. I'd say his most important quality. Very good attacking player, and a very nice guy as well. Very nice. And here we've seen how he faces the Sicilian with a secondary variation, but with a sting there, this d5, g4 line, opening up the position. And I hope you've enjoyed how he coordinates his minor pieces. Even without the queens on the board, you can still develop a very dangerous attack. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, and I'll keep putting out content for you guys. You can learn a lot of chess with these simple miniature videos, and also be entertained and have fun.